Mera is on. All right. So
I'm calling her.
no, it's okay. Mamta, are you ready to go ahead?
Yes, sir. I'll present, sir.
All right. Okay. So in that case, what we'll do is we'll do the anatomy after this. We'll go ahead with Mamta's topic, and that is pathophysiology of the tricuspid valve. Okay, Mamta, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be talking about functional tricuspid regurgitation, pathophysiology. So there are two types, organic and functional. Organic TR is it's primarily a tricuspid valve disease. The causes are rheumatic myxomatous, Epstein's anomaly, endocarditis, carcinoid disease, trauma, and iatrogenic, such as from a pacemaker lead or RV biopsy. And there is functional TR, which is acquired, which occurs secondary to left-sided heart pathology or RV dysfunction or pulmonary hypertension. So mainly tricuspid valve is made of 3 leaflets, but not all leaflets play an equal role in functional TR. The septal leaflet attached to the septum is affected by the shift from the right to left, which is rare, and the posterior leaflet, which is the smallest of the 3, is attached to the inferior wall of the RV, and thus the diaphragm limits its displacement. The anterior leaflet is attached to the free wall or the anterior wall of the right ventricle, which is greatly affected by the annular dilatation. As the annulus dilates, the anterior and the posterior leaflets are pulled away from the coaptation point, which results in gaping that creates the TR jets. So the pathogenesis of functional TR is complex, involving the annulus and the supporting apparatus. It affects the spatial relation of the valve leaflets, chordae tendineae, papillary muscles, and the right ventricle. And the chronic increase in the PA pressures lead to pathologic remodeling of the right ventricle. RV remodeling produces dilation of the tricuspid annulus and the papillary muscle displacement, which results in change of the coaptation point and in leaflet tethering. Due to relatively fixed septal portion of the tricuspid valve to the heart's fibrous skeleton, direction of the annular dilation is in the anterolateral direction, and the dilated annulus becomes flatter and more circular, and there is subsequent increase in the tricuspid valve area, and there is decrease in the tricuspid annular excursion during the cardiac cycle. These changes are exacerbated in the presence of severe tricuspid regurgitation. The now flattened and dilated tricuspid valve annulus leads to abnormal changes in the spatial relationships of the papillary muscles and chordae tendineae, resulting in leaflet tethering and possible regurgitation. Ultimately, functional TR results in vicious positive feedback loop, with the right ventricle dilating more from increased volume load. Eventually, the right ventricle fails, causing increased RV diastolic pressure and shift of the interventricular septum towards the left ventricle, in turn impairing the filling of the left ventricle and increasing the LV diastolic filling pressures. Then there is role of atrial fibrillation. Increased left-sided filling pressures result in left atrial dilatation, a predisposing factor for atrial fibrillation. AF can lead to RA dilation and altered RV function with subsequent tricuspid annular enlargement. This can occur independently or with coexistent mitral valve disease. Atrial fibrillation is a known risk factor for development of functional TR and for recurrence or persistence of functional TR after mitral valve surgery. Physiological functional TR is associated with normal valve leaflet morphology and normal right atrium and right ventricular size. The collegiate is localized in a small region of the atrium adjacent to the valve closure. Usually it's less than 1 centimeter and is thin, central, and often limited to the early systole. Functional TR is characterized by tricuspid annular dilatation, and it may involve tethering of leaflets with a tending distance more than 8 mm, and the regurgitant jet area provides some semi-quantitative assessment of functional TR severity. Now we'll come to mode of leaflet cooptation. The cooptation is the surface of contact between the leaflets. It's measured indirectly by cooptation height. The greater the cooptation, the less regurgitation is likely to occur. Normal cooptation of the tricuspid leaflets takes place either at the level of the annulus or just below it. A good surface-to-surface cooptation, which is about 5 to 10 mm of the leaflet's bodies in contact with each other during systole. As soon as the annular dilatation occurs, the leaflet cooptation mode tends to become edge-to-edge. So to summarize, functional TR disease processes is basically either it's a left-sided heart disease, which causes right ventricular afterload increase, which causes RV remodeling, or atrial fibrillation, which causes altered RV function, which in turn causes tricuspid annular dilatation and causes abnormalities of tricuspid anatomy and function which leads to functional tricuspid regurgitation. The assessments are color flow jet visualization is used to evaluate PISA radius and effective regurgitant orifice or regurgitant volume. And annular dilatation, the annular ring is attached to the tricuspid valve leaflets, and the dilation can result in poor leaflet opposition. 2D echocardiography coupled with 3D imaging is used to accurately measure the annular diameter. And leaflet cooptation mode, here 3D echocardiography is recommended to measure tenting volume, the area within the tricuspid leaflets. So there are 3 stages, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. First stage is the severity of TR is none or mild. The annular diameter is less than 40 mm and cooptation mode is normal. So the mode of treatment is medical treatment. No surgical intervention is indicated here. In stage 2, it's mild to moderate TR. Annular diameter is more than 40 mm and cooptation mode is abnormal, edge to edge, with or without tethering of less than 8 mm below the annular plane. So concomitant tricuspid valve annuloplasty is recommended. In stage 3, it's severe TR, annular diameter more than 40 mm, and cooptation mode. Here, there is no cooptation with or without tethering of more than 8 mm below the annular plane. Concomitant tricuspid valve annuloplasty and leaflet augmentation, if tethering is present, is the mode of treatment here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamta. That was a good presentation, basically giving a baseline of the pathophysiology of how tricuspid regurgitation develops. So basically, what we have to understand here is tricuspid regurgitation is of 2 types, that is functional and organic. So organic tricuspid regurgitation is where there is a disease of the valve leaflet as such. Whereas functional TR, in functional TR, the leaflets of the tricuspid valve is normal, but the pathology is somewhere else. And that pathology leads to right ventricular overload and remodeling, which produces annular dilatation, and that leads to TR. Right. So before we go on to the next stage, now we'll ask Medha to take us through the anatomy of the tricuspid valve. Medha, are you on? Hello, Medha, can you hear us? Medha, you'll have to join the audio as well from your screen. We can't hear you. Medha, are you audible to us? Hello. Right. There is a bit of a technical issue with on Medha's microphone. Sunil, can you go ahead and do your presentation then?
Yes, sir. We will finish it off.
Right. Okay. So I'll just. Next we will look at the indications or what are the guidelines that are available for tricuspid valve repair. So Dr. Sunil will be taking us through the guidelines. Sunil, over to you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. We will discuss regarding the indications of TV repair now. The next slide. One more back. Oh.
Yeah.
See, regarding the indications of, we'll take an introduction of TV repair. Usually, the functional TR used to resolve on its own. On its own after correcting the left-sided cardiac disease, such as if the patient has mitral stenosis or mitral regurgitation, or the patient has pulmonary pathology, pulmonary vascular disease, which is causing back pressure to the left side, right-sided tricuspid valve. But up to 30% of these patients had persistent severe functional TR, even though the left-sided disease was controlled. So many studies reported that the progression of TR after left-sided surgery was up to 20% of the patients, which is leading to increased morbidity to long-term morbidity as well as morbidity for the residual moderate or severe functional TR. So which is leading to an increase in mortality, such as 25% of mortality after redo TV repair. So we divide this functional TR into 4 stages, such as stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. The stage 1 includes the risk factors. The risk factors for progression or persistent of functional TR. So these include tricuspid annular dilatation, that is more than 40 mm of diameter or 21 mm to meter square index to body surface area on pre-operative TTE, and more than 70 mm diameter on direct intraoperative TE measurement, or any degree in the right ventricular dysfunction or remodeling, or leaflet tethering height. If the patient has pulmonary arterial hypertension, AF, non-myxomatous etiology of mitral regurgitation, and intraannular right ventricular pacing leads, or intraannular implantable cardioverter defibrillator leads. So if these indications are there, then they have chances of converting them to the severe TR. We'll go to next. Yeah. So as per 2014 AHA guidelines for TV repair, in that they have advised to repair TV repair if the annular size is more than 40 mm or more than 21 mm meter square as significant annular dilatation measured in apical 4-chamber view using TTE. And if the patient undergoing left-sided valve surgery, the TV surgery should be performed for severe TR. And the TV repair can be advantageous for patients with mild, moderate, or greater functional TR at the time of left-sided valve surgery with either tricuspid annular dilatation or prior evidence of right-sided heart failure. And the TV repair is also considered in patients undergoing left-sided valve surgeries with moderate functional TR and pulmonary hypertension. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, and both ASA as well as joint ESC, that is European Society of Cardiology as well as Cardiothoracic Surgery, told the prior slide, sir.
Previous one, is it?
Yeah. This one, sir.
This one only?
They have taken an assertive. This is the one, sir. They have taken the assertive approach for functional TR. So the recommended valve repair is always better as compared to tricuspid the replacement. So then coming to the stage B, this is the progressive TR. As we discussed, the valve anatomy would be like either it might be primary or functional. The primary one would be leaflet destruction or deterioration, and mild to moderate prolapse limiting the caudal rupture. And coming to the functional one, there is early annular dilatation and moderate leaflet tethering. So if you see these patients through TE, we can divide them as mild or moderate TR. The mild, the TE gradient, the TE measurements would be central jet area, vena contracta, continuous wave Doppler, as well as hepatic vein flow. In the central jet, if it is less than 5 centimeters square, is the continuous wave flow, which is dense and if it is soft and parabolic, and the hepatic vein flow, which is systolic dominance, which is normal. And if you go to moderate TR, where the central jet area would be 5 to 10 centimeters square, and the vena contracta would be less than 0.7 centimeter. You can see they have not not defined in mild TR. It is only less than 0.7 or more than 0.7. And the continuous wave Doppler would be dense and variable counter. And the hepatic vein flow would be, the systolic blunting will be there. So as a consequence of hemodynamics would be, in mild TR would be all the chambers like RA, RV, IVC sizes will be normal. Whereas in moderate TR, even though the RV enlargement is not there, there will be a mild enlargement in RA and IVC with normal respirophasic variation. And the symptoms, as you could see, this is a progressive TR. So there won't be much symptoms. If at all any symptoms are there, it is due to the pulmonary vascular disease or some left-sided pathology. Coming to the next slide. Yeah, coming to the stage 3, it is asymptomatic severe TR. Sir, you have gone forward. Anusha? Yeah.
This is asymptomatic severe TR.
Yeah, asymptomatic severe TR. So in this, if the primary pathology would be grossly distorted leaflets, and the functional TR would be, this is severe, so the severe annular dilatation of more than 40 mm, and in any marked leaflet tethering. And we can classify this severe TR based upon the T as jet area. Central jet area would be more than 10 centimeter square. Vena contracta more than 7 mm or 0.7 centimeter. And the continuous wave would be the counter. The counter is totally different from that of mild to moderate. It is dense, triangular with early peak would be there. So as compared to the other continuous waves like mild to moderate, this would be early peaking will be there and dense triangular. And you could see the systolic reversal, which means to say the disease is much severe as compared to mild to moderate. As a consequence of that, the hemodynamics would be the RV was not dilated in mild to moderate, but when it comes to severe, the RV, RA, IVC as dilated with decreased IVC respirophasic variations. And there is a elevated RA pressures with CV wave. And there is a diastolic interventricular septum flattening as it is present now. And since it is a asymptomatic TR, the symptoms won't be there, really none. Or if there is any symptoms, it may be due to the left heart or pulmonary vascular disease. We'll go to next slide, sir. Okay, now we'll discuss regarding the symptomatic severe TR. Coming to the valve anatomy, here as in the asymptomatic or symptomatic, the primary valve pathology is it is grossly distorted leaflet. And the functional TR, as we discussed from prior, the dilatation of more than 40 mm or 21 mm per meter square. And there is a marked leaflet tethering. So the valve hemodynamics are similar to that of the asymptomatic severe TR, and hemodynamic consequences would be the same in compared to the asymptomatic, except there is a certain of RV systolic function, decreased RV systolic function. So this is if the patient will become symptomatic, they'll have RV systolic dysfunction. And the symptoms such as they'll okay, and the symptoms, they'll have fatigue, palpitation, dyspnea, abdominal bloating, anorexia, and edema. And next slide. Yeah, this is the flowchart which has been given by AHA. You could see we have discussed depending upon stages. Stage 1, which is a risk factor. Stage 2 is a progressive functional TR. Stage 3 is asymptomatic TR. Stage D is symptomatic TR. When coming to progressive functional TR, if mild or moderate functional TR is there, if at the time of left-sided valve surgery, then along with that, if they have TA, the tricuspid annular dilatation, we could go for TV repair. If along with that, if they have pulmonary hypertension without TA dilatation, and then also we have to go for TV repair, but the class will change. It will go for 2B as compared to 2A in tricuspid annular dilatation. And coming to asymptomatic TR, the functional, if it is functional, severe TR, along with if they are undergoing left-sided valve surgery, they can have tricuspid valve repair or replacement. That is class 1 indication. And if the primary primary severe TR is there, along with progressive RV dysfunction, then it will go. They require TV repair or TV replacement. The indication would be class 2B. And coming to the symptomatic severe TR, if the patient has functional severe TR along with the left-sided surgery, they'll have to have TV repair. And if it is primary, they should have TV repair, but the class will change. It will be a class 2A indication. If they come for reoperation with symptomatic severe TR, and if they have preserved RV function and the pulmonary hypertension is not severe, then they will go for TV repair or replacement. That is class 2B indication. The next slide. This is European Society of Cardiology or cardiothoracic surgery guidelines in the management of the left-sided, in the management of tricuspid regurgitation. They have given in a different way. They have it is slightly different. If they divided into the need for left-sided surgery. If need for left-sided surgery is there, you could see, and they divided them into the severity of TR. If it is mild to moderate, is there, and if they doesn't have TA dilatation or any signs of right-sided failure, you don't need to have any TV surgery. Or if they